Greetings, everybody. Happy Merry Christmas Day Eve. Tampa Motormouth behind the microphone. It's a solo show this week. Ryan's feeling a little bit under the weather, and I've got his picks. As we really didn't tend to disagree, I think, except for maybe one or two, unless I misread that wrong. So hopefully, Ryan will be feeling a little bit better next week and will be on the mend just as that happens this time of the year. So, once again, it's yours truly, Soto, behind the microphone. Here's the plan today, week 17 picks. I will do my utmost to include relevant set starts for those of you in the fantasy championship. That's not me. It's been a rough fantasy stretch. Last year, ended up getting three teams and had three teams. All three teams made the playoffs. One team managed to get to the second round, then got absolutely just steamrollered. And this year, not even any of the teams the second round of the five teams that were in. One was an auto draft. Yeah, all three oot and out in the first round. So, such is fantasy. That's what happens. Just mm. But yeah, hope your fantasy is going better, and hope you, maybe unlike me, have at least a shot of maybe one fantasy playoffs championship. So yeah, so there's that. Let's go right to the as we try to remember the one problem when you always have 60 gajillion freaking tabs open. The which one is I'm looking for the start set. Hello. Come on, I know. Come on. Picture list. I know it. I did. Here we go. Yaha. And we have, of course, the first game of the three. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders. Huh. Yeah, just not exactly what you would call a very sexy Christmas slate. Even the Broncos and Chiefs game. It's all of a sudden wham wham. Because of course Patrick Mahomes getting KO'd, Chiefs getting eliminated. He may not even have Rasheed Rice. I still saw that he was in the concussion protocol. So of course, first of three games, Dallas Cowboys. Oh boy, who do you start? Yeah, you're starting Dak Prescott. Dallas Prescott, a new alternate reality version of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, QB1, you're starting him. Running backs, obviously, Javonte Williams, Malik Davis, Jaden Blue, only if you're a desperate dart throw injury or a deep league like the 16-teamer. CeeDee Lamb, you're starting wide receiver one. George Pickens, you're starting borderline wide receiver one. He's had good games, but he's also had wet games. And Ryan Flournoy, yeah, well, if you need a dart throw, he's worth one, but just, yeah, you never know. Jake Ferguson, start mid range, tight end one, but CeeDee Lamb, of course, back. Yeah, pretty much a lot of the tight ends are dart throws this year. So, oof, just it was brutal when Tucker Craft went down. Just all of a sudden, yeah, solid. And defense, special teams, Dallas Cowboys. You're starting them against Josh Johnson, yeah, because that's who's starting for the Commanders. As oh boy, Marcus Mariota, streamer. He's startable if you yeah, you really need someone. Josh Johnson, yeah, I wouldn't have a lot of hope for. I wouldn't have a lot of hope for Chris Rodriguez, waiver wire sexiness, flex RB3. You're sitting Bill and you're sitting at Jeremy McNichols from the wide receivers. You're starting Scary Terry, wide receiver two. You're sitting Traylon Burks and you're sitting Debo Samuel. Although he might be good as a flex as a wide receiver three, but yeah, just with this Washington Commanders offense, I don't know how much you saw how ugly they looked against Philadelphia Eagles. Granted, better defense than the Dallas Cowboys, but yeah, so You're sitting both of the tight ends for the Commanders, and you're definitely sitting the Commanders. Oh boy, just because you're sitting them. And who's my pick? I have to pick the Cowboys for this game. I have to pick the Cowboys. And let me just quickly check. Ryan also picked the Cowboys, and for the rest of the Commanders, for the Christmas Day, he is also picking Lions and the Broncos. As we go back to start set the next game, of course, yeah, that would be the Lions and the Vikings. Lions hanging on a thread, a very thin thread for their playoff chances, going against the Minnesota Vikings. And yeah, for the Lions, it's of course Jared Goff is a quarterback two, startable in superflex. Other formats, I think you tend to just, I don't know. The Lions offense is crazy, but just so many mouths to feed. You never know. Is it going to be passing? Is it going to be ground game? And if it's ground game dependent, if Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery have a very good day, sometimes that adds up to Jared Goff not having a good day. And in order for him to be a productive quarterback in fantasy, you need him to not only get touchdowns, you need him to get passing yards. Of course, running back Jameer Gibbs, you're starting. And yeah, RB1. And David Montgomery, yeah, just seems to be a Jameer Gibbs offense recently. I think somebody is a little bit on the tired side because, yeah, Jameer Gibbs start QB1 in the article. I think somebody needs some coffee. I think everybody probably needs some coffee because I saw there's a picture of playoff picture. Like, ooh, this looks good. Might use this in the podcast, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing teams eliminated. I'm seeing two identical Cleveland Browns logos. I'm seeing two Falcons logos, and then I see Denver Broncos, and I'm like thinking, yeah, a whole bunch of people probably need coffee. It's been a long season. It has been a long season. It's been a crazy season. It's been a good season, but it's been a long season. Wide receiver, Sun God, you're starting him. Wide receiver one, J-Mo, you're starting him. Wide receiver two, boom bust. And in this case, you're sitting poor Isaac Tesla that was a part of that whole cray sequence at the end that Lions fans are still. Lions fans or people who pick the Lions or bet on the Lions or uh yeah, that was still such a sucky way to end that game. That sucked. That did. And I think the Lions are going to be on a mission this week. Tight end, you're sitting Mr. Shane Zylistra, and defense special teams Lions. You're starting them. They're going to be roaring. Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, you're JJ McCarthy, of course, out. You are not starting Max Brosmer under any circumstances if you saw his performance. I'm sorry for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. What that just such a cursed year for Justin Jefferson. Such a cursed year. The Carson Wentz era. Then you had J.J. McCarthy when he wasn't good. Then all of a sudden J.J. McCarthy was good. Now for your fantasy championships out there, you have Max freaking Brosmer. I'm just I'm sorry as yeah, and you're sitting Aaron Jones, you're sitting Jordan Mason, wide receivers. Yeah, you're just unless you are really freaking desperate, you're not starting Justin Jefferson, you're not starting Jordan Addison, and you're not even starting Jalen Naylor. You aren't. It just Brosmer is you're not starting TJ Hawkinson. And you're definitely not starting the Minnesota Vikings defense. You just aren't. And yeah, I'm picking the Lions. Ryan also, as I said, picking the Lions. Just oof, a whole lot of but and then of course the final game as we try to find it. It's always fun. There it is. It's always fun when vision challenges. Yes. Yes. Then you have, of course, the 8:15 in the true Thursday night game, as you have other than the Lions and Vikings, yeah, just Commanders and Cowboys sim to end. Lions Vikings, and then just this one is just awful because, of course, the Chiefs eliminated and the Chiefs quarterback injuries. Boy, you're starting Bo Nixon, Superflex, borderline quarterback one, just because it's another one of those cases you never know. It could be pound, ground and pound. How much passing is it going to be? Because we've seen times when Bo Nixon's been unbelievable. And then there are times you're just like, I started this guy. Why? Running backs R.J. Harvey, you're starting him RB2, but yeah, nobody else really, I think, unless you're desperate because of injuries. And yeah, Pat Bryant. Oh, that was awful. The hospital throw that really was the hospital throw. Then is just. I hope you didn't have to see that injury live. Just ooh, but Cortland Sutton, wide receiver two, and Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin, he is just a wide receiver for flex, definite dart throw for poor Troy when you get the name right. But yeah, Troy's a wide receiver four. Then tight end, you're sitting both Troutman and Ingram. Defense, you're starting the Broncos just because that defense. I think they're on a mission after the Jaguars did that to them last week, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And yeah, somebody is smart. They put up the how to say the quarterback's name of they put up a phonetic. Thank you QB list. Thank you. Thank you. Ha do Ken. Ha do Ken. That's how you say his name, and you're going to sit him. Unless you're really that desperate that, oh my God, everybody's injured. There's nobody available. Because, yeah, you're not starting Ha do Ken. So, yeah, just Ola do Ken. Oladuken. 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 Yeah, at least I know how to say his name now. But yeah, I know how to say his name. I get triple word score bonus points, but you ain't starting him. You're not starting Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, Smith. Yeah, wide receiver Rashid Rice is probably not going to be in the game. You're not starting a Hollywood Brown, or as I call him, Van Noyes Brown. You're not starting Xavier Worthy. You're definitely not starting Travis Kelsey just because of the quarterback situation. And you are only starting the Kansas City Chiefs if you have no other options. It's that bad. And never thought I would say this, but yeah, I'm not picking the Chiefs under any stretch of the imagination. I'm picking the Broncos. All right, let's go ahead and let's go to some Sunday games. This isn't in any order because I'm just kind of going down the picture list website so I don't have to go back and forth. And Buccaneers and Dolphins. Oh, my poor Bucks. Just all. I actually saw there was a story. Rumor Belichick to the Bucks. And I don't think we want any part of Belichick. I don't think after his waning time in New England, how that went, how horrible a cluster North Carolina has been with the reality show. His life has been off the field and on the field, disastrous season on the field, all the girlfriend things off the field. Just I don't think we want any of the Bill Belichick experience, even as much, you know, as much experience and as much success as he would bring. I don't think we want the current version of Bill Belichick. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yeah, you're starting Baker in Superflex and other formats. He's still a borderline quarterback one, but you just taper a lot of expectations. This is not the same Baker Mayfield that he was when he started the year and just absolutely was just MVP all the way. And yeah, Bucky Irving, RB2, you're starting him. You're sitting Rashad White. You're sitting Sean Tucker. Wide receivers, Mike Evans, you're starting wide receiver one. Mika Amuka, a Big Boo. Yeah, that's going to be forever. Wide receiver three, even though he's definitely had a drop off because he has started the season because of all the injuries. He was a superstar. Just everyone thought he was going to be offensive rookie of the year or just a solid rookie of the year, just straight up. But now, just yeah, all of a sudden more mouths to feed. Baker dealing with injuries that maybe he's not declaring. But yeah, Chris Godwin, wide receiver two, you're starting him. Jalen McMillan, you're sitting unless you're desperate. And I think you're sitting Kate Otten. Just all of a sudden, And I think because of the situation with Miami and the quarterback, who they are forced to start because of performance issues, you're starting the Bucks DST. To the Dolphins we go. Yeah, come on out, come on in. You're sitting the mighty Quinn Ewers. Yeah, you're sitting him. This is just like the Chiefs. You ain't starting him. I think unless you're desperate, just leave the freaking space empty and you might get a better performance. Running back Devon Achane, you're starting him RB1. Ollie Gordon, Jalen Wright probably sitting. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, he's been a little bit of a surprise in the stretch when all of a sudden the Dolphins have been good. Wide receiver 4. Yeah, but Cedric Wilson, Malik Washington, you're sitting. Tight end Darren Waller, streamable, but yeah. And Dolphins DST, you are definitely sitting. And I saw both Ryan and myself are on the Bucks just because the Dolphins are going to be that bad. That they just are. Then we go to the Jaguars and the Colts. So yeah, chugging along Sunday as Trevor Lawrence. You're starting. You're starting just because he has been phenomenal. Liam Cohen getting all the credit for his turnaround, and he is a solid quarterback. Freaking one. Me last week. Well, there's no possible way in Denver that Trevor Lawrence can do what he did the last week. He still had a pretty darn good week. He did. Running back, yeah. So you're Travis Etienne and Allen Jr. Just I you're just wondering. You're just wondering why he hasn't run the ball well. I think you tend to sit him and you don't start him unless you just don't have any other options right now. Wide receiver, tight end, and yeah, the just Allen Jr. You're not unless you just your injuries and you're just so injury bitten that you need to just start a body there in that slot. Wide receiver, tight end. Brian Thomas Jr. He's a wide receiver two type numbers. Jacoby Meyer, you're starting. Wide receiver type two numbers. Parker Washington, definite flex wide receiver 4. Brenton Strange, tight end 1. So yeah, just proceed with caution. And Jaguars, you're starting the DST. Oh yeah, you are definitely starting the DST. To the Colts we go. Philip Rivers, sit. He's a QB2 startable in Superflex, or unless you're really desperate. Because problem is, Indy doesn't have a defense. They don't have a defense. That means the offense is going to be out there a lot more. They're going to be gassed. Jonathan Taylor, you're starting, but temper your expectations. Abdullah, you're sitting. Wide receivers, Michael Pittman, you're starting wide receiver 3. Alex Pierce, wide receiver 3. And Josh Downs, wide receiver 3, just because the Jaguars all of a sudden decent defense. Tyler Warren is streamable, but that's about it. And defense special teams, yeah, I would sit the Colts. And let me just check. I think both of us ended up picking the Jaguars. Yep, we both did, in fact, pick the Jaguars. And yeah, So then, of course, we go to the Cardinals and the Bengals. Checking along in the early slate, you're starting Jacoby Brissett, QB1. He has just been solid for the volume, but just the Cardinals are bad. Running back Michael Carter, he's a flex RB3, and yeah, you're sitting in DeMarcado. Wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's just determined to play even if injured. I remember seeing that. Michael Wilson, waiver wire gem, both are wide receiver 3, and Xavier Weaver. Yeah, you're sitting in Trey McBride. You're starting tight end 1, whatever that is, as tight ends. And Arizona Cardinals, unless you're insane, you're not starting their DST. To the Bengals we go. Joe Burrow, you're starting QB1. He's having fun again. He's happy again. He's happy-go-lucky Joe. You're starting Chase Brown. You're sitting Samaje Perine. He's been kind of sniping here and there, but it's clearly Chase Brown RB1. Wide receiver Jamar Chase, you're starting him. Oh boy, he has definitely been up and down this year. Wide receiver 1. T. Higgins, wide receiver 2. And of course, Andre Avasalis, you're sitting because nobody's really injured or suspended because they end up getting into it with somebody spitting wise. Yeah, his fantasy relevance value is non-existent this week. Tight end Mike Gesicki. He's just unless you're desperate, because it's all about T. Higgins, it's all about Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. Kind of almost too many mouths to feed, and Bengals at DST. Just you're sitting them. Just no, and I'm picking the Bengals, and pretty sure since we had a lot of agreement as I'm checking. Yep, Ryan also picked the Bengals. And now we go. Of course, we go to the next game as we're knocking this down. We're almost done to the first row. The Bears and the 49ers, as I'm realizing we're jumping ahead to Sunday night football. I know I'm kind of going all around. This is not in chronicle order. But of course, you're starting from the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams. You're starting him Superflex borderline quarterback 1. Running back starting DeAndre Swift, running back 2. Kyle Monangai, you're starting him running back 2. DeAndre Swift still leads the backfield, but yeah, Monangai just he has been a beast. Wide receiver Roma Dunze, you're starting him wide receiver 2, but make sure to watch the practice reports. Practice, not the game. Not the game. We're talking about practice. Watch the practice reports. DJ Moore, flex, wide receiver 4. Start wide receiver 2, depending upon if Odunze or Burden is inactive. Wide receiver 3, if Odunze and Burden are inactive. So it's just kind of case of how many mouths does Caleb Williams have to feed right now? And yeah, once again, and Luther Burden 3, start wide receiver 3, but watch the practice report. So that wide receiver room, a little bit on the dicey side. So if you have a chance to pivot to somebody else for your championship, I wouldn't trust the Chicago wide receiver room right now, just unless you absolutely have to. Tight end, Colston Loveland, start him, tight end 1, and start the Chicago Bears. Give them a start. I know it's up against the 49ers, but they have been definitely very surprising and very good this year, San Francisco 49ers. Of course, you're starting Brock Purdy, quarterback 1. You saw what he did on Monday Night Football to the poor Indianapolis Colts. Running back CMC, that's kind of a no-tell. RB1, you're starting him. Brian Robinson Jr., Jordan James, you're sitting them. Wide receiver, Jawan Jennings, you're starting him. Wide receiver 2. Ricky Pearsall, you're starting him. Wide receiver 3, but another watch the practice reports. And Demarcus Robinson, you're sitting. Tight end, George Kittle, you're starting him. Tight end 1, but just sort of keep attention because you have the ankle issue. He has the ankle issue, so you never know. But of course, Jake Tongue's streamer F Kittle is inactive. So yeah, if for any reason you need a pivot, that's a pivot possibility. Defense special teams 49ers, you might want to sit them because 44-year-old Philip Rivers threw for 2 touchdowns and nearly 300 yards against the defense. 44-year-old Philip freaking Rivers. And I'm pretty darn. Oh, wait, let me check. I don't want to speak for. I don't want to speak for flying. I'm picking the 49ers, and Ryan is picking. We're both picking the 49ers. So we go back. So the Bears and 49ers, and now we go Commanders and Cowboys. We already did. Texans and the Chargers. I know this is one of the few games I think we actually disagreed on. As of course we go to this is a Saturday game, so the games are all over the place for the Houston Texans. Of course, you're starting C.J. Stroud in Superflex. He's a borderline quarterback one. Running back Woody Mark start back in RB2. Nick Chubb, you're sitting. And Jawar Jordan, you're sitting, assuming that it's good news on Marks. Wide receiver Nico Collins, wide receiver one. That's a duh. Jaden Higgins, he's a start, but just for deep league flex, just because he really hasn't put the numbers. You're starting him, and you're like, huh? But wide receiver three, maybe four. Christian Kirk, you're sitting. Wide receiver five. Tight ends, Dalton Schultz, you're starting. Tight end one. And the Houston Texans, that's kind of a duh. You're starting from the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, you're sitting just because of that matchup against the Houston Texans and just the hand and all that. Then you've got, of course, Marion Hampton. You're starting RB2. You're sitting Vidal and you're sitting Haskins. Wide receivers, Quentin Johnson, you're starting wide receiver three. Keenan Allen, you're sitting. Lad McConkey, who finally came back off of the fantasy milk carton last week. Welcome back, Lad. That just means you're going to disappoint us this week, right? You're starting him wide receiver two. Tight end, you're probably sitting Gadskin just because he's just been kind of up and down and more down, and you're sitting the Los Angeles Chargers team just because of that matchup. And I think this is the one of the ones that we differed on because I ended up picking the Chargers. And yep, I picked the Chargers, and Flyin ended up picking the Texans. So then we go to Texans and Chargers, Patriots, and the Jets. I don't think there was any disagreement on this pick. Oh boy. New England Patriots quarterback, you're starting Drake May. That's a duh. Quarterback one. Running back, you're setting. Yeah, just tough seeing concussion for Trevion Henderson. All the output, the incredible year he's had as a rookie. Concussions, yeah, you gotta sit him. Ramondre Stevenson, that means more work and volume for him. Dearest Johnson, we'll have to see if they try to sneak him into the entire game plan with Henderson being out. But yeah, Stevenson is the safe play here. Wide receiver, yeah, you're just sitting Keyshawn Boutte. Definitely one of the best names in the entire league. You're sitting Hollins. You're starting Stephon Diggs, wide receiver three. But yeah, you just never know if he's a boom or he's a bust. So, when you're giving up on him, all of a sudden, wow, he came out of nowhere. And then you just get comfortable with him, and then, yeah, lets you down. Hunter Henry, you're sitting, and you're starting the Patriots special team. It's the Jets. For the Jets, you ain't starting Brady Cook, not unless you're really, really, really desperate. Running backs, you're just, yeah, you're all Davis. Yeah, you're just sitting everybody. Wide receiver, Adonai Mitchell. Wide receiver three, desperation, John Mitchie. flex, wide receiver 4, maybe 5, and Isaiah Williams, no chance in bleep. Tight end, Mason Taylor, yeah, you're sitting, and you're definitely sitting the Jets DST. Remember when the Jets DST was good? Remember? Pepperidge Farm remembers. And I'm pretty sure both of us are on the Patriots. Yep, we are, as I'm checking. Both of us are on the Patriots. So far as picking goes, far as that picking shows, it would probably have been a yep, and you're picking this one, Ryan. Yeah, I'm picking this one. Yep, you're picking this one, Ryan. I'm picking that one. Sort of has that kind of a feel. But when it's week 17, when a lot of things are decided, that's what tends to happen. Then we go to Saints and the Titans as this game. One of the early slate games for the Saints here, starting Tyler Shuck. He's starting him in Superflex, and I even think a borderline QB1 in a deep league, maybe even regular leagues. He has just been a pleasant surprise out of nowhere. Running backs, yeah, you're not sitting, you're not really starting any of the running backs from New Orleans here. Wide receiver, Chris Olave, of course, wide receiver 1, having himself one heck of a year. You're not starting Tipton or Austin Jr., Taysom Hill, streamer, option at best. And I think you're starting the Saints just because the Titans, both teams, are, for the Titans, Cam Ward, you're sitting. Don't like the matchup. Tony Pollard's a flex RB3. He's got the incentives, so that's a possibility. He might be good. Tajay Spears, you're sitting just because his fantasy value, of course, depends upon Tony Pollard not being there. Wide receiver, Eric Arrow you're sitting. You're sitting Van Jefferson, you're sitting DK. So, but just as really DK is out of the three, he's just the one that seems to be fantasy relevant out of most of them, but just you can't trust this Titans offense. There's a reason why you have shirts out there that say "We Ass" and they have the Titans logo on them. So yeah, tight end, of course, streamer for getting chiggy with it. And just he's had at least 10 fantasy points in 8 straight games. But yeah, that's only if you just don't have any other options, and you're obviously setting the freaking Titans defense. I mean, I don't think anybody out in their right minds would set them in. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure both of us aren't crazy enough to pick Titans. Yeah, Ryan picked the Saints. I was like, okay, I know he likes to go contrarian sometimes, but he isn't crazy enough to go contrarian and pick the Titans. We'll go to the Giants and Raiders as yeah. One of the late games here as oh boy, yeah, just for the Giants, Jackson and Dart, you're starting, but just after that performance last week, oh my good god, that performance just I'll get to that as I have a worst lineup that I have to get to. That'll actually will be my final thought. Just you're starting him, but I'm just you're not having a lot of faith. For running back, Tyrone Tracy is definitely the clear choice. You're sitting Singletary. Tracy is a RB3. Wide receiver, it's Wendell Robinson. Wide receiver 3, you're sitting Hodgkins. You're sitting Slayton. Tight end, you're sitting Theo Johnson, and you're definitely sitting the Giants for the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh my good God, a tank bowl game in full effect. You're sitting Geno Smith as a quarterback 2, startable and superflex, or only if you are that freaking desperate. Yeah, and I know you're like, okay, he was good in that game against the Texans, but it's still the Raiders. Ashton Genty, start wide receiver 1. Excuse me, running back 1. Running back wide receiver. That's because my brain was already going, okay, running back, we're going to wide receivers. Wide receiver, yeah, Jack Beck, WR4 flex, Trey Tucker, flex WR4, and Tyler Lockett, flex WR5. Tight end, Brock Bowers, that would actually be a no because there was a fresh news story about a half hour, an hour before I started streaming Brock Bowers to IR. So he ain't starting him. He's not going to be available, and you're definitely. Yeah, I don't know. It's the Giants, and for some reason they have to put famous Jameis in there. They might be streamed because he just always gives everybody the ball and turnovers. So yeah, you never know. All right, let's go to the Rams and the Falcons, and both of us. I know both of us picked the Raiders because I absolutely love Ryan's comment because he has in his picks he goes Raiders, and then after the Raiders he has barf. So I know both of us were just like, yeah, are we really picking the Raiders? We're really picking the Raiders. All right. Closing in, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more games to go. Los Angeles Rams, you're starting Matthew Stafford, QB1. That's a duh. You're starting Kyron Williams. You're starting Blake Corum. Kyron Williams is an RB1. Corum is an RB3. Wide receiver, you're starting Puka Puka. Hopefully he stays off of live streaming and doesn't get on anybody else's live stream this week. And wide receiver one, no Devontae Adams, are shutting him down for the rest of the regular season. And Mumfeld, believe it or not, is a flex wide receiver for probably because of no Devontae Adams. I'll be one of the crazy names that gets a touchdown that everyone will go, who the bleep is that? Colby Parkinson, streamable. And you're obviously starting the Los Angeles Rams, especially against the Falcons. Falcons quarterback, yeah, you're probably sitting him in this matchup. Quarterback two, I know I had a league where Kirk Cousins is in it, and I actually dropped him for Tyler Shuck because I did not like this matchup either for running. So you're sitting Captain Kirk. Bijan is a wide receiver one, running back run, wrong position, genius. Tyler Algier sit because his only value is when he tends to snipe. Good matchup, and he has to snipe touchdowns away from Bijan. I'm not sure if that happens here or not, but more than likely, if you're counting on it, I wouldn't. Wide receiver one, so I should say running back here since I said wide receiver with the running back. Drake London starting wide receiver one. There, Darnell Mooney, you're sitting, and you're sitting, and David Sills. Tight end Kyle Pitts, you're starting him, tight end one, and you're sitting the Falcons special team. And I'm pretty sure both of us ended up picking Rams here. Ramalama Ding Dong. Yep, we did. So, not other than that one game, not a lot of disagreement for this picking session. All right, here we go. The final 5 games. We already did that. Already did that one. So to the Ravens and Packers, the final 4 games. There are 4 games. There are 4 lights. To the Ravens and the Packers. Oh boy. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, you're starting him, and assuming he does start because he's got the back issue and been dealing with that. Cornerback one, Tyler Huntley, if it turns out that that's who's going to go. He's QB2, startable in Superflex if Jackson is inactive or you are just very, very desperate. You're starting Derrick Henry. Hopefully, John Harbaugh starts Derrick Henry, especially in the last 12 minutes. And Ali and Mitchell, you're both sitting. Wide receivers, Zay Flowers, wide receiver two. Bateman and Hopkins, you're sitting. Tight end, Mike Andrews and Likely. I think you're both saying him, and you like how Likely's has comments. Yikes. So how's your season going, Ravens? And who'd ever thought that the Baltimore Ravens would have been classified as a streamer option and not an automatic start for DST? Wow, have the mighty fallen. Green Bay Packers. Who the heck is it gonna be? Jordan Love's starting Superlex borderline quarterback one. Watch the practice reports. Malik Willis is it going to be Malik Willis, who's dealing with issues of his own, the soreness, or mystery box quarterback three. I think I saw Josh Jacobs in one post. Who the heck knows? I think I would avoid the Packers unless you absolutely need. You have no idea what the bleep is going on here. Running back Josh Jacobs, who could beat the emergency quarterback. Who the hell knows? But yeah, Emmanuel Wilson start. So if Jacobs inactive or if he's the emergency quarterback, Emmanuel Wilson could be getting the share of the load and then mixing it in with Chris Brooks. So who the heck knows? This is going to be one of those interesting stitches for Week 17. Wide receiver just going to be ball based on who the heck the quarterback is going to be. But you're starting Christian Watson. Christian Watson, you're starting him. Sit if Love is inactive, and this also applies to all the other wide receivers. Romeo Dobbs, wide receiver floor. Jaden Reed, wide receiver floor. Matthew Golden Flex, wide receiver 5. But you're sitting everybody if Love is inactive. Tight end Luke Musgrave. Think I would sit him. And Green Bay Packers, you stream him. You stream them. They're going against the Ravens, so they could get in some good licks and get in some points. But yeah, Steelers and the Browns. Oh boy, of course quarterback Aaron Rodgers set. Just yeah, no DK Metcalf. So who is he going to throw to? I don't think I would trust him, as DK Metcalf was pretty much the team's offense. Jalen Warren, you're starting. Kenneth Gainwell, you're starting. They're going to have to ground and pound a lot when their main offensive aerial weapon is out. As DK Metcalf, of course, suspended for punching the fan in the Lions game. 2 games it was upheld, so that means he is done for the rest of the regular season. Don't think you can trust Calvin Austin. You can't trust Marquez Valdez Scantling, and I don't think you can trust Adam Thielen. Tight ends, you're sitting Washington, you're sitting Freiermuth, you're sitting Smith. As just all of a sudden, no DK really changes the whole game. And yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers, do you start them? They're still a top 5 in sacks and turnovers, so I think they're borderline start, borderline streamable. Cleveland Browns. Quarterback Shador Sanders, you're sitting him against the Pittsburgh defense. Running backs, yeah, just Samson, Sanders. After Judkins went down with that horrific injury, yeah, I don't know. And wide receivers, you're sitting Judy, Tillman, Bond. Fannin might be a startable tight end 1. And I think the Cleveland Browns are actually startable in a streaming aspect. But yeah, it's just seeing. I'm just seeing who Ryan in the picking. Did he pick the Browns, or did he pick? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Nope. He actually picked the Steelers. Like I ended up picking the Steelers because both of us looked at the Browns' offense. No Judkins, and Judkins was the Browns' offense. He is now out for the rest of the year for the final 2 games. You got to pick the Steelers even without DK. I just think they'll be able to ground and pound, and just this is going to be an ugly game. This has a definite under feeling to it. So, yeah, both of us picking the Steelers. Seahawks and the Panthers. Buccaneers will be definitely keeping their eye on this game for sure. Quarterback Sam Darnold is actually a streamer QB2 just because the Panthers can isolate JSN. That shuts everything down for the Seahawks. But Kenneth Walker, you're starting him RB2, and Zach Charbonnet might be an RB3 this week. Wide receiver JSN, you're starting him. Wide receiver 1. Raheem Shaheed, you're sitting just because his value just seems to be special teams recently. Cooper Cup, yeah, I don't think he's going to be much of a factor this week. You're sitting AJ Barner, and you're starting the Seahawks. They're ready to go against the Panthers. You're sitting Bryce Young for the Panthers. Running back Rico Dowdle, he's a flex, low end RB2. You're sitting Hubbard and Hubbard. Hubbard, I'm making up a new name. You're sitting Hubbard, you're sitting Etienne, Trevor Etienne. And for wide receivers, it's Statora McMillan. You're starting wide receiver 2. Leggett and Cooker, you're sitting. Wide receiver Tremble, you're sitting. Panthers, you're definitely sitting. And I'm pretty sure both of us ended up picking the Seahawks just because we're not crazy. Yeah, you're that the Seahawks and the defense and that offense. I know the Panthers have been surprising this year, but yeah, and here we go. The last game, Eagles and the Bills. I know these have been out of order because this is a late game on Sunday. But yeah, Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, you're obviously starting Jalen Hurts, QB1. Saquon Barkley, you're starting RB1. You're sitting Tank Bigsby, duh. Wide receiver, tight end, you're starting A.J. Brown, wide receiver 1. He's definitely had a better time of it recently than Devonta Smith, but you're also starting Devonta Smith, and you're sitting Dallas Goddard, and you're sitting the Philadelphia Eagles special teams because it's against the Bills. No, I don't know. I might start him because you have Josh Allen and that foot concern. But yeah, quarterback QB1 Josh Allen, even with the foot concern and injury that he had before halftime last game, and he ended up having an X-ray, came back negative, and he did the second half. But you're starting Josh Allen, running back, of course. James Cook, you're starting. You're sitting Johnson. You're sitting Davis. Wide receiver, you're starting Shakir. Wide receiver 4, you're sitting Cooks and you're sitting Palmer. Wonder if Keenan Coleman is going to be yet another healthy scratch again. Tight end Dalton Kincaid, borderline tight end 1, and the Buffalo Bills. You're kind of just sitting them just because it's of the matchup. And for me, I believe I end up choosing the Bills, and Ryan chose the Bills also. So, yeah, not a whole lot of disagreement for this podcast. As yeah, that would have been kind of a deal. And as we go to my final thought is will be the worst. What was the worst lineup as far as Yahoo Sports is concerned for week 16. Starting off a quarterback, that would be Jackson Dart. Fantasy points 1.02. Let me say that again 1.02 for wide receiver Marvin Harrison, 1.9 fantasy points. Wide receiver 2, Christian Watson, 2.7 fantasy points. For running back 1, Kareem Hunt, 0.2 fantasy points. David Montgomery, running back 2, 1.4 boom, 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 fantasy points. Travis Kelce from the tight end, 1.1. These are pretty bad. Fantasy points for flex, Brian Thomas Jr., 2.8. Yay, Jason Myers, kind of a surprise because he's been a super stud this year, but 2 fantasy points. And for the defense, Flying Ryan's Miami Dolphins in at minus 2 points for their fantasy week. So there you go. So there you have it. And we'll actually do later on. We'll do later on because I have been yakking quite a lot, and I've got to hand it to Ryan. I've got to hand it to Ryan when he does all of the talking and the yakking, going over every single team, who you start and who you sit. I got to hand it to him. That's a lot of yakking. So now I understand when he's like, okay, can you talk for a little bit, Joel? I'm kind of getting that subliminal message. Can you talk a little bit now? So definitely have to hand to him when he does this every single week. That's a lot of yakking, but we'll do a playoff. Not will. I will do a playoff picture pod a little bit later on. Let the old vocal cords recover and rest a bit. Just a second. Nope, no comments, but checking. But yeah, just a playoff picture, and that's for the shuffle for Christmas Eve day. Going through who you start, who you sit, and art picks that hopefully I didn't miss any or not get any right. If I did, I apologize. But yeah, once again, definite hats off to Ryan, who does the start sits every flipping week. And definitely have to hand it to him and his vocal cords. Whew. I know why he has a lot of water also. Tampa Motormouth in the zone behind the microphone. Hope you have enjoyed. Hope you have a healthy and safe Christmas day. Even with that slate such as it is, middle one basically has to be the best game out there. And hopefully nobody does anything crazy to get suspended. Can you imagine that? I might have changed it, but I still think the Pittsburgh Steelers have enough, even without DK, to get the pounding done against the Browns, who have an even more non existent offense than the Steelers. So, yeah, so I will talk at you a little bit on the later side, maybe in a few hours, just to do a playoff picture podcast, and that will wrap things up. And we'll be on to, as Bill Belichick would say, week 17. Take care, and I am Joel Verlin.